Beautiful. Here we are. My absolutely stunning and incredibly talented niece, Trish Delaney-Brown. Hello, darling. And
Hello,
I'm
darling.
and I'm the aunt, and I'm Delaney. And we have been wanting to do something talking about music and Trish and her journey, particularly, for quite some time now. So this is the very beginning, isn't it?
It is at last. Takes a
Yeah.
little while to get there, but here we are.
Yeah, definitely. And so, even though we're looking at creating a podcast and all these things, we thought, let's start now. Let's just begin the process. And there's such a palette to choose from in which direction we can go. Today, let's just talk a little about the drive, even getting you to here. And because it is with a little bit of reluctance that you've dragged yourself to this point of public exposure. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, because I don't think I'm unique in
Mm.
this. I think it's a lot of creative personalities have this dichotomy of, like, when we're on stage, when we're in that performance space, absolutely lay it all out there, but then the need to retreat and that need for privacy and space in which to just be and create, for me, away from all others, like even my family. So that's kind of a struggle within daily life, to be able to create those spaces where I feel like I'm being filled up with what I need to then be able to create. And obviously then there's also the sense of possible judgment and all of the self-confidence issues that come with when you actually put yourself out there in a situation. Again, live performance for me is really different, because you've either booked the gig and set it up, or someone's booked you for the gig and set it up, and people have come because they want to be there, and you get immediate feedback and create something in the moment with that group of people, and it's like you've all signed the contract. So you're all there, you know what the parameters are, and so great, let's have an awesome time in this space, and then you wave goodbye at the end, and hopefully lots of lovely memories have been made, and they might go out and, in the old days, buy a CD, or now might go and download. But this kind of thing is like, that's something else entirely. It's not even like a video clip or a recording where, again, you're going in with, I've crafted this stuff, and now we're putting it into a form that other people can be part of. I'm part of my journey with this next phase of my career and exploring what I want to create is that the world has changed, and that where it used to be, give us your product, now it's kind of, no, we want to be part of that journey. Like, we actually want to be inside the workings of it as you create whatever you're creating, and that I'm still getting my head around.
I relate to everything you're saying, and there's also this desire for authenticity and connection. We are hardwired for connection. Absolutely. So what's interesting is the thing that people are actually saying to their favorite artists: we want to connect with you. We don't have to be in every day of your life. It's actually not about the paparazzi connection. That's got nothing to do with that. What people want to know, you're real. People want to relate. They want to connect. And what's happened in the last few years has been a process of immense disconnection. And there is so much disconnection and divide around so many things. And why I have such a drive to help, inspire, engage with you to get out there more, is that the world needs connection. The world needs things that bring us together, and music, we already know, brings people together. It goes beyond language. It connects deeply with emotion and can uplift, can soothe, can assist the process of release. I am in heartbreak. I am in grief. This song helps me to shed the tears that otherwise would not be shed as easily. And also, quite often in that process with the music, it is cathartic. So at the same time, releasing emotions that are not positive, for the want of a better word, it's actually a nurturing process as well. So talk to me about that angle of because you're a songwriter, an award-winning songwriter as well. So talk to me about that. Talk to us about that.
Well, that's been a real process of becoming more and more prepared to be vulnerable as well. And I have literally written songs for as long as I can remember. And I can actually remember some of the ones when I was in primary school. I obviously got Dad involved to play guitar for me. And so this is a part of expressing myself. And it's something that has always felt very natural for me. And then with Idea of North, it was awesome to have this vehicle to be able to write and arrange for. And definitely I was in some of those songs addressing things that were personal to me, but that was a different situation because we were a unit. And so we had our individuality within that, but it was also important that it was material that the others could gel with. So it wasn't necessarily just for me. And I think coming into this latest phase of now actually being a single artist, like singular artist, and also having been through some of the most developmentally intense periods post Idea of North. Like that was an incredible period of my life and we went through a lot together. But becoming a mother, that's huge. Deciding not to go back to my first baby, which was Idea of North, that was huge. So all of those, who am I? Who do I want to be? Sucked into that vortex of early parenthood, and then moving more into music education, and which is kind of another arm of what I do and how I express myself, but very different to this songwriting space. So it's been this process of getting clearer and clearer about what I am prepared to say, what I'm prepared to put out there. And this is the power of telling your story, is that I've been inspired to do that through other people being prepared to do that. So a really important gig for me was Claire Bowditch a number of years ago, who I was not overly familiar with her songwriting. I'd seen her in a television show that she played a character who was a songwriter, and loved the few songs that I heard from there. And then a friend, we bought tickets to see her at the Factory in Marrickville, and she just owned that space. And before interval, she basically broke down the fourth wall and said, okay, we're going to do a little guided meditation. And she led the auditorium in this guided meditation of basically, who are you? What's your story? And how do you want to express that? And then what's the first step that you can take? And now go off and join the queue for the toilet and talk about it with the person in front of you. And it was life-changing for me. And I went home and I wrote a song. And it was probably one of the truest songs that I'd written in my life. And just being given permission to do that, to lay it all out there, and what will be will be. And there's been lots of things. So other performers, a Kristen Berardi gig down here in Wollongong, actually, in the room that I'll be performing in tomorrow. That was another one. I came home from that and wrote a song because I was just so inspired by what she was sharing. The wonderful Elizabeth Gilbert book, Big Magic. Have you had that yet? Yeah.
No, I haven't. I've got
to post that. Yeah, but that's another one that's been really inspirational in, I suppose, removing some of those obstacles that we might have to being and sharing and being vulnerable and putting work out there. Because her take is very much, as the artist, your job is to do. So you do that and you put it out into the world, and then your job is done. How it's received, what happens with it, that's actually not your job. Your job is the creating, because not everybody either can or is willing to. And so that thing, getting back to what you were talking about, connection, that willingness to be the conduit, to allow people who, for whatever reasons, find it harder to express what they're feeling, and to be that for them to get to experience it through you as the performer and as the writer. And that, it's weird, isn't it? Because we play with, it's like the multiverse in our head. There's so many different ways that you can approach it, because in that respect, it's not about me at all. It's not about me at all. And yet, when I'm prepared to be most authentically me and most vulnerable, is when I'll become the voice of that universal experience that then allows it to not be about me, and to let other people experience the power of that moment, whether it be a recorded song or live performance.
I think you've hit on something there in relation to, I always have that hope that there is a possibility of also inspiring others to share their story, whether it's with one person or whether it's with a bigger audience is irrelevant. You know, I was, as I've been looking to create a film clip for one of your songs and looking at Murmuration, you know, the Starlings, and looking at Murmuration, there is not a leader. Everyone is a leader. And I've always believed that the arts are a key element in all of us becoming leaders. It's been turned into an industry, and so therefore we have that, you know, we have those separations. And yet I really do believe that all of the creative world that is within all of us, because you look at children, all children sing and hum and make up stories and see magic and all of those things. And I get that it's inherently there. And so the more that artists do connect and create and share themselves too, that doesn't mean they have to share their whole lives with everybody, you know, that whole tabloid thing and everything. I mean, that is just not necessary, but more that authenticity. I think there's a power in that truly we are only just starting to connect with, in relation to creating a very different reality whilst we're all living on this planet.
Yeah.
there's power.
Yeah. And we know that about hearing your own story in your own voice, like how powerful that is. And I suppose one of the blocks that I have put there is that, well, I have a privileged position in this life. Like I'm a white woman in an amazingly affluent overall country. I've not had I've had an amazing family. Like really, what have I got to whinge or even to share? Like people, but this is what comes through is it doesn't matter what your story is, it's your story.
Yeah.
And you need to be expressing it because every experience is unique and universal all at the same time. And my struggles within that sphere are still my struggles, and they're still universal struggles. So not allowing, whilst acknowledging the privileged position that I'm in, not allowing that to stop me from telling my stories and the depth at which I feel those stories, regardless of whether I'm doing it from a house with a roof and heating, and I still feel things deeply. And so when you're talking authenticity, being able to be authentic in that and not feel like a fraud for feeling my feelings, because there is that tendency to, as someone who's, well, my upbringing and my mum, who's like, if you want to think of positive and then to the power of infinity,
that's
her. And there's so much to love about that sense of living every day like it's a miracle, because either it is or it isn't. Like, how do you want to live it? I love that, but I also want to be true to what I'm feeling and allow myself to express that to the depth that I feel it. Not always having to have like I found myself, I think we might have talked about this before, but even in my journaling, if I'm having a bit of a rant or whatever, I've gone back and read and it's like, yeah. And then, but the sun's shining and I've got, this amazing family, and like having to qualify it in my journal that no one else is going to read but myself. And so, just kind of being prepared to go there and just allow that to be. And not that everything that I express through song or in my journals is deep or dark or,
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Whatever it is, just actually going there and being okay with going there.
I love it. I think that's a beautiful place to finish our first session.
We did it. Yay!
We did it. It feels really good. There's so much. I'm definitely not going to run out of things to say and talk about, because there's even from that, there's just so many places you could go off. But thank you. This is really exciting.
Thanks, Delaney. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, enjoy.
Bye.